Welcome to the Talking Diaries podcast featuring Dr. Louis Coster with John Kremer. I like how you started with existence and what is, and that if you truly, like you say, you've told me a number of times, just have the courage to admit, you know, or to allow that what is, and then you said that you said, well, that means that every thought that pops up it just is. It's not anything you have to worry about one way or the other because it just is.
Exactly. And so what I noticed in this journey of discovery was actually that stops the activity of the mind. So the moment I acknowledge exactly what is arising as it stops that movement of the mind, the well, as I like to call it, it arrests the mind. It stops it. It stops the illusion. Because what keeps it going is my attention. And when I acknowledge whatever is arising exactly as it kind of freezes what's happening in my consciousness, which is then at the same time a great opportunity to see what actually is there. Like it's an opening for an inquiry, for an investigation. And what I noticed that's there basically is nothing, so to speak. It's all an illusion. It is a creation of the mind. It's not real. And then there are certain things that come with realizing that it is not real, that has a dynamic of its own, that at times is very clever, so to speak.
You sort of defeat the monster of thought by denying it any existence. But you do it not by pushing it out, it seems, but by embracing it in a sense, or at least accepting it.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting in what you're saying. So by acknowledging the existence of what is arising, I deny it reality. Because in that allowing in and then experiencing it exactly as it is, well, then it disappears. I mean, it dissipates. It's no longer, or it kind of dissolves, and the duality that is created by language is well dissolves itself. So, and this is very interesting about the mind. So, to speak about how clever the dynamic is of an illusion is that it is exactly the opposite of the experience that it gives you. Like what is true is the opposite than what the thinking tells you is true. Like, for instance, it is counterintuitive when you got all these thoughts happening, and some of these thoughts they might be scary, or they point to bushfire or something that might happen. Well, the last thing that you will do is to allow for it, right? Like, oh my God, it might actually happen then. That's exactly the illusion that the thinking creates. Well, the opposite is if you do, you see it for what it is.
And when you see it for what it is, then you have nothing to fear.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, exactly. It was just a thought.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your amazing questions.
I think I understand a little bit more now about what it means when you talk about allowing for the totality of thoughts to arise, because what you're doing at that point is simply saying, well, it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then it goes, well, no, I'm not. In some sense, once you say it is, it goes, no. And it goes poof or something. And you experience the real is underneath the superficial is. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but
Yeah, yes, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like by by seeing the appearance exactly for what it is, it disappears because it was never there. It does not exist. It has never existed.
so it doesn't even go poof because there's nothing to poof.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Well, I always think
So
of
thank
it,
you.
when something disappears, it goes poof. But the reality is, if it was never there in the first place, it can't poof.
It's amazing. Yeah, yeah. That's a bit disappointing given all the drama that has been creating, but that's um, that's probably another aspect of it that is extremely funny. So
So,
it is uh, the disappearance of something that never was.
which is, it's sort of like what we talked about in some previous sessions where you talked about the power of language. And, I mean, how can you say that something disappeared that never was in the first place? And yet, in some way, language can't quite, it can point, but it can't necessarily be that accurate. Be- because in
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
case, the thing never disappeared because it never was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting what you say. So you could say that language points to being, but does not carry being. You see, that's the illusion of language.
As a
It
writer, I
creates
think it's kind of a wonderful illusion.
it creates the illusion of being, and that's part of uh, well the hook that it creates. So, John, I just want to thank you for this conversation. Just stunning, and I mean, I'm speechless um, for creating the opportunity to for a conversation like this to come forward, which is just absolutely extraordinary. So, thank you.
Well, I wanted to thank you because there was at least one thing that's always been sort of boggling my mind, and that's that totality of the thoughts arising But for me, when you talk about it as just recognizing what is, somehow that's simpler for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I like it because I think it's a very powerful insight.
yeah. I like it too because of its simplicity. It is like the one thing in in our life that is indisputable, that is existence. Like that's something that is beyond belief, interpretation, philosophy. Truly, like what is. So I thought that was a great place to start
Yes.
an inquiry.
So I
And
appreciated you going through those steps with me.
yeah, yes, yeah. But you are very welcome. It's well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Talking Diaries podcast featuring Dr. Louis Koster. For more information, check out louiskoster.com/talking diaries and subscribe to the Talking Diaries YouTube channel. Also, check out louiskoster.com/quiz and take the free quiz to discover more about yourself.